At the time of recording this video, I've had exactly 1 month with Expedition 33. And during that time, I've had a lot to think about in regards to its story, and I've wanted nothing more than to just make this video because there's a lot to talk about. Major spoiler warnings for this video. We're going to be going through all the twists from the end of Act 2 all the way to the final moments of the game. And if you haven't beaten this yet, please do yourself a favor, bookmark this video and come back so this way we can have a discussion later in the comments. Your minds that will be blown will be ready. We're going to be recapping the story in this, but also touching on major details you may have missed. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help raise that 38% even higher, and so you don't miss out on any more Clair Obscur Expedition 33 videos. We got a lot coming your way, especially from this series. Towards the end of Act 2, the party makes their way to the top of the monolith they just defeated and seemingly erased Renoir, Maelle and the curator delivering the final blow, and we're finally confronting the paintress, who immediately recognizes Verso. And out loud she wonders, how is he there? She mentions the fire, and there's a lot of confusion around that. Is he really there, or is he another one of his tricks, talking about her husband, the real Renoir? The paintress calls Maelle Alicia and asks about her face. Maelle pretty much reminds her of her daughter. This is what Lune and Ciel understand. Verso tells her that Verso is dead, and then the paintress in a defensive stance says they will not take the canvas from her. This is extremely important to note. Towards the end of the fight, Verso calls Esquier and gives him Sorry, which he pretty much had in his possession the entire time. The next phase begins with the paintress saying Renoir can grieve however he likes, but she gets to grieve in her own way. She also asks if Verso really died in the fire, giving us more insight to the fire that damaged Alicia and the manor. In the final phase, while the paintress is being downed, instead of attacking us, she actually gives us buffs and tries to protect us. She doesn't even attack us once. After finally defeating the paintress, Verso shares a moment with her. As Maelle touches her, the paintress says Alicia, and it triggers a reaction from Maelle, affecting her deeply. We don't know exactly what this means just yet, but a lot is about to get revealed. The party then experiences a brief moment of relief and somewhat fear, thinking about all of the life that they have left ahead of them now. Sort of a victorious but bittersweet moment, because many of them honestly never thought they'd make it to this point. So the idea of living past an age that you never thought would be possible, not many in this world are ready for that type of revelation. It's a pretty unique perspective. The party does what no other expedition before it achieved, planting an expedition flag in the top of the monolith to signal that they have triumphed. They've defeated the paintress. While this is all happening, Verso is obviously engrossed with thoughts and leaves the members of Expedition 33 to embrace in their final moment of triumph. The whole time I thought, based off of what he previously said, where the paintress needs to die in order for Renoir to be able to die, thus losing his immortality, I thought this exact same thing would be happening to Verso as well, and we would technically be losing him too. So maybe this is why he was sad and quiet, but Verso still remains, but is incredibly distant. The party makes their way back to Lumiere to celebrate. Lune and Ciel reunite with friends and future expeditioners, sharing a moment of joy. The children finally get to meet a Gestrel with Monoko. Many people are blown away seeing the real great Esquier, and he's not actually a myth, he's a living legend in front of them. Maelle, making her way up the stairs and holding Gustave's journal, makes her way through the crowd and sees Emma, Gustave's sister, alongside Gustave's apprentices. She makes her way over to them, and while they are happy to see them, it's clear after a few moments, Gustave unfortunately wasn't able to make it, bringing us back to the pain of Act 2. She then tries to hand one of the apprentices the journal, and in shock, he pretty much drops it and runs away. The sad reality sinking in for that young child. And now while all of this is happening, Verso is actually watching from a distance, making his way away from everyone, but at the end of the dock, he pulls out a letter. He sits down to read it. It's originally written by Alicia, the painted version of Alicia that we see in black and white imaging. The letter basically states that she's sort of jealous seeing this version of her as Maelle, without any pain, no burns or scars afflicting her. She also reveals that seeing your expedition actually succeed in defeating the paintress would inevitably cause their ultimate end. Because the paintress, here's one of the first twists, the paintress is actually protecting their world from immediate destruction, because the curator is the one who's been enacting the Gamage. The paintress has been creating a barrier countering his power, and she's doing this by limiting the age of which his Gamage affects. The numbers painted on the monolith are in fact a warning from the paintress, letting them know that this is who she cannot save. The mother paints life, while the father paints death, and wants to get rid of this world. And she wrote all of this with the intent of Verso possibly giving the letter to Maelle to warn them. But he doesn't. Instead, Verso lets it fall into the water, hiding the truth from everyone. And suddenly, his demeanor, his distance, it all makes sense. He always knew this would happen. This was his end goal. This was his end game. To end it all, something he's been trying to achieve for many years. Now that the paintress is gone, the only one left is the curator, the real Renoir. Suddenly, during all the happiness, an explosion of fear overwhelms, and everyone begins to gamage. Now that the paintress's barrier is down, nothing can stop the gamage, limiting the age of which it affects. And the full force overpowers and takes out everyone. Ciel, Lune, inhabitants of Lumiere, regardless of age, children, teenagers, everyone is gamaged. The pain on Lune's face during this realization as she's spinning around, it gets me every single time. We stop the paintress. Why is this happening? What went wrong? After Maelle is finally gamaged and the world is plunged into the darkness, we're taken back to a black screen detailing a moment in the past. In the very same moment that we're about to witness, it's currently year 49 on the monolith. This is absolutely important, make sure you keep that thought. We are now being shown real life Verso, slowly being engulfed in flames with his hand sticking out to the camera. This is the real mansion of not Lumiere, but Paris. And outside, you can see the Eiffel Tower in the distance. He utters the words, "You're okay." And then we're actually awakened. This is actually a dream, Alicia's dream. Although it's framed as more of a perspective and not a dream, as the camera was looking from her perspective. Then we realized we started to control Alicia, scarred Alicia with the damaged face and voice. The epilogue begins. And get ready guys, because this is where the game just detonates our minds. We're told specifically that this day, this event that we're witnessing, and this time taking place, is in the year of Expedition 49, 16 years before the events of Expedition 33. Alicia is controllable right now, and we're actually roaming the mansion that we've been cryptically deciphering through the entire game. But this time, it's not in immaculate shape. It's actually pretty run down. Some of the corridors are not even accessible at all due to the fire damage. And it says, while Papa and Clair can repair this, it technically will never be the same, showing deeper damage within the home. Roaming closer to the objective, we could actually see paintings from the world that we've been so attached to, framed throughout the entire house. There's the Goblu enemy, Esquier swimming, the mansion on fire. We also see the family has paintings on the wall, and Alicia notes that hers is the really tiny one on the bottom right. Mama said it was the only acceptable one worth putting up. A very cold interaction. And mind-blowingly, we also see two dogs resting by the fire named Monoko and Noko. More on this later as we make our way into Renoir's study. The camera pans around and we see paintings of the world. Siren, Lumiere, the Mask Keeper up top. The creation enemy that we also see and come across later on in the story. It's basically a Renoir-focused monster he seems to be infatuated with. And then we see a giant canvas, and Renoir and Aline are frozen standing in front of it. And then finally, we're able to meet with Clair. Clair is another daughter of Renoir and Aline, the paintress. She is the older sister of Alicia, as well as a sibling to Verso. I do believe she is the middle child and maybe Verso was the oldest, but I need somebody to actually confirm that. It might be the other way around. Her attitude and demeanor towards Alicia is also cold. She calls her their family's shadow, which shows the family overall has a negative view of her. Clair continues to dump valuable information to us here. She explains to us that Renoir and Aline are stubborn and refuse to leave this canvas world, and that this isn't even the longest that they've spent in a canvas. They've technically spent a way longer time in many other ones. Clair is concerned that they're actually wasting time and complaining that Renoir should instead be helping her. But instead, he's wasting his time trying to help someone that does not want his help, Aline. If you mention the next dialogue about Verso, she then criticizes Aline, who again is the mother and the paintress, for falling victim to Verso, the fake painted version copy, painted from the mother's memories. And she warns Alicia to remember that detail. Clair is not willing to help Aline and is very harsh towards her mother, saying if she wants to numb herself and run away in the canvas, they should just let her, because they have bigger things to worry about. Aline apparently was the head of the Painters Council, and her grief over losing her son Verso is causing her to waver and lose her sense of control, and Clair has lost faith in her. Verso's death literally changed Aline. As Clair says, she was quite different before, and she would have even agreed with Clair's current attitude about how Aline is acting. Clair says in the canvas, Aline is stronger than Renoir as she possesses more chroma and power. so Clair has tipped the scale in the curator Renoir's favor. Clair cannot take chroma from Aline, but she can keep it from returning to her. It's a resource that can technically replenish itself. Clair does this over time with the Nevrons that she has painted. The Nevrons, whenever they kill expeditioners, it prevents their chroma from being absorbed by the paintress, and it keeps them in a position where only curator Renoir can absorb them. And over time, it should whittle down the power scale between her and the curator Renoir, and then allow curator Renoir to be able to stop her by erasing her oldest creations, hence the reverse order of the age on the monolith and signaling who is to die next. While Aline puts up a barrier to try to protect the rest of the citizens of Lumiere, Clair and the curator Renoir are both the cause of the gamage. Massive mindfuck right there. This is just one of the rare areas also in conversation where you're able to backtrack dialogue options, tell you things that she just spoke about, just to make it all a bit more clear, because a lot of huge things are being revealed at the current moment. This is very important story stuff. But in order to keep track of things, let's have a little refresher. The Renoir with a suit is a painted Renoir. Black and white Alicia is a painted Alicia. Verso as well is painted and a copy, not real. These were all created by the paintress, Aline, her own fake family, to cope with the grief over losing Verso. The curator is the real Renoir, and for years he's been trying to get the paintress Aline to stop all of this so they can go home. Clair says she's actually going to be leaving and needs to take care of a bunch of business. A conflict is spreading and she needs to take charge. Alicia mentions that she wants to help Clair, but Clair basically tells her not to, mentions that she's too weak, she's too useless to their cause, and would eventually be a liability if involved. Because before, the same exact thing happened, when the writers used Alicia in order to get to and attack the family, and they caused the mansion fire. The mansion fire was started by the writers, and then Verso sacrificed himself to save Alicia. To which Clair coldly responds here, if she was given the choice in the same situation, she would not have made the same decision that Verso made. It's brutal, man. Essentially, the Desandra family, which is the last name of Alicia, Verso, Clair, and all of them, they're actually in a war against the writers. And it's a war that Clair, at the current moment, just might be fighting all by herself, with their entire family in shambles. That's right, guys. The world of Expedition 33, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, that we've been playing in, growing attached to, clapping cheeks in, is an actual painting. Then it's revealed to us that this family, the Desandra family, has a special power, and they're all painters who are capable of creating worlds with their paintings and can travel within these worlds, visit them, and spend quite a significant amount of time in them. And they've done so for over hundreds of painted worlds. Literal gods, art gods. And then it all clicks. This is all Sandfall Interactive's infinite game plan. Similar to like Final Fantasy games, each taking place within a different world, embodied of crystals in an ongoing war between chaos and warriors of light. Sandfall has so many different worlds they can create and showcase to us now. This even enhances the meaning of the name Clair Obscur, which always confused me at first, but no, I get it now. Clair Obscur is light and dark in French. It's a term used in art to describe a strong contrast of light and dark, and even more insane parallels of Final Fantasy, again, chaos versus light. Clair Obscur, light and dark. Clair Obscur, you can look at it like this. The main name of it is basically like Final Fantasy, and Expedition 33 is the world and number like in Final Fantasy titles. So let's say Final Fantasy 7 being the world of 7, and in the Final Fantasy universe, Clair Obscur, the world of Expedition 33. And there's tons of different opportunities for canvases in future games. This reveal made me lose my shit, and hearing the painters are at war with writers, crazy ass concept, man. What exactly are the writers now capable of? Since this is currently the year of Expedition 49, that means the time of which Aline and Renoir have been in the painting since the fracture, since Monolith year 100 for Lumiere, till 49. That's about 51 years of time that they have spent within the painting. But that means, obviously, time within the real world, not in a canvas, passes very differently. Think like hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball, or the planet from Interstellar. Aline and Renoir could very well have been in the canvas for a few days or even weeks, but obviously not a full 51 years at this point, since their kids are still young and Verso's passing seems to be very recent in real life. Dude, taking that all in, guys, Clair and Alicia devise a plan to get their parents out, and Clair takes another shot at Alicia, saying the reason why the two of them are in there in the first place is because of her, and her being naive costed Verso his life. As she approaches the canvas, more details are actually revealed in her text dialogue at the bottom. This is in fact Verso's canvas. They all used to play here when they were younger. It's where he painted Eskie and Monoko. A lot of the childlike wonder within this world starts to make a whole lot of sense now that you realize gestrels are based off of the family's dogs. And as you roam throughout the manor, you see so many of different figurines laid about of the Nevrons from Clair. And technically speaking, the Monoko that we see in the dog bed, he's technically Monoko the Third. And if you think about it, going back to the way that the Sacred River works for the ways that gestrels can be revived, they always can come back. They come back with the same name, but they're never the same. It's kind of symbolic in the same way that they must have had Monoko the First, passed away, replaced him with Monoko the Second, and then Monoko the Third. Same name, maybe somewhat similar personalities, but not actually the same. As Alicia makes her way into the canvas, we start to hear more dialogue from Alicia and Clair, deciding that they need to hide the canvas in a location that their mother won't find, because as soon as they expel her from it, she'll just want to return. Alicia chooses the hiding spot, which Clair praises her for. We don't know exactly where this hiding spot is. It's not known to us at this current moment. Maybe it'll be revealed at a later point. But Alicia's mission she's been tasked with is to end all of this by expelling their mother from the canvas. But remember, destroying the canvas also means stopping the final sliver of Verso's soul from painting, the last living piece of Verso. These canvases, when painters create them, a little piece of their souls remain within them, becoming a part of their work, which we'll touch on a little bit more later. As Alicia enters, instead of being able to immediately roam around, she's actually floating downwards, and then she's actually intercepted and repainted. Her story has been written by Aline, the paintress's chroma. She's being reborn as one of Aline's creations to become a resident of Lumiere and born within the canvas. She is born to two mysterious parents and is revealed she's being named Maelle. Remember, this takes place in Monolith year 49, and the game and characters we know of takes place in the year of 33. That is a 16-year difference, and we also know Maelle in the game is 16 years old. So this is how Maelle came to be. She was created once Alicia made her way into the canvas and the paintress repainted her. Alicia lives here for basically 16 years. In this new persona of Maelle with no recollection of her actual identity, being Alicia. 16 years of attaching to others, forming relationships, experiencing pain, joy, misery, and loss. Maelle is born into this world. And now Act 1 was Gustave, Act 2 was Verso, Act 3 finally begins, and we are controlling Maelle. And now it's time for the truth. Finally, Maelle is back in Lumiere with Verso sitting alone on a bench. This is moments after the Gamage scene that we saw where everyone faded away after Maelle and the entire party returned to the dock. Maelle has all of Alicia's memories now and is aware of everything that has been happening and has happened. Maelle feels all the remorse of trusting the writers and being betrayed by them. So let's have a little bit of a recap. Renoir is Alicia, Verso, and Clair's father, and Aline, who is the paintress, is their mother. Verso passed away in the mansion fire that everyone blames Alicia for. This fire was set by the writers who betrayed Alicia's trust, but we don't know why they did this. But it's something Sandfall has planted to explore in the future with more Clair Obscur games. At least I hope so. Please don't leave it off on this. Maelle tells Verso their mother did a bad thing, painting him into the canvas, giving him the real Verso's memories and his life, and Verso agrees with Renoir wanting to erase the canvas. But Maelle fires back that the real Verso would never want that, and that he's real, at least to her. Then she decides to seek out her real father, Renoir, the non-painted version, the curator Renoir. Remember, the Renoir we've been fighting the entire time was the one from the fake family that Aline painted and created. The entire time, the real Renoir was with us at the camp, and we've been giving him chroma. This entire time, we've been feeding him power to power our weapons, to power our characters. This was flashed by a few hours before in the game. After we defeated one of the Axons and gave him the heart weapon, he flashes and then we can see him for a split second shown to us to plant the seed of this idea. Maelle and Renoir embrace, and then Renoir apologizes on behalf of his family to Verso, casually telling him in order to repay him, they will reward him with oblivion and end his life and the canvas, which Maelle doesn't want at all. She pleads for him to keep the last thing of Verso alive, to which Renoir doesn't want because he just had to watch his wife Aline obsess for 67 years, that's 67 canvas years, which feel like real time, over this canvas and pain. He doesn't want her to return to this place and repeat the cycle. Maelle then says this is her home now, which triggers Renoir's fear. Your home? Really poor choice of words here. Because now he realizes that Maelle is going to follow the same path that Aline fell to, obsessing over this canvas. He also says that she will die if she continues. A side effect of staying within a canvas for too long for painters. They have issues with this health-wise. Renoir enrages and he tries to invoke a Gamage. Maelle prevents it, realizing that she can actually use painter powers. Then her and Verso escape via Esquier, and we see so many new enemies and new creations from Renoir forming a siege on Lumiere. The real Renoir, being the curator, the person who truly was causing the Gamage yearly, doesn't have enough chroma as Aline, and he must get chroma from killing expeditioners and absorbing their chroma. Early in the game, he actually opened up a shop for us where we pay him in chroma, which he gladly takes. Imagine how many expeditioners could have just stopped going on expeditions and seemingly prevented Renoir from getting any more chroma, thus helping Aline to maintain a bigger power scale than him and preventing Gamages from happening. This realization is so tragic to me. The expeditions were ultimately causing their own Gamage and downfall as a society. Maelle, Verso, Monoko, and Esquier are back at camp, while Maelle tries to use her painter powers again, this time to bring back Ciel and Lune. She has a pretty tough time trying to do this. Verso makes her realize how to channel that power, and then, after a few tries, she finally does it. She brings back our girls, who were aware of their Gamage, but everything must be explained now, which they do via a passage of time black screen. Lune gives Verso shit for lying about basically everything. Maelle says that she can bring everyone back, but she needs more chroma, and Renoir, at the current moment, controls all the chroma in the canvas right now. Now that Aline is gone, they have to find a way around this. The expeditioners killed by Nevrons retain their chroma within their bodies, a discovery that Gustave made earlier in the game. But this is also Claire's intention to stop the chroma from returning to Aline, but instead, have Renoir absorb it all himself as curator. We can do the same now. Lune is still furious at Verso in this individual conversation here. I don't blame her. Had they known all of this info, so many things could have been prevented. Verso apologizes and promises to mend their trust with him and for him to bring everyone that they can back. Ciel also lets him have it. She does it more in a passive way because she's really excited that death isn't final anymore. Maelle can bring back her husband, and she would gladly sacrifice Verso to achieve this, as she says, and Verso agrees to help her accomplish this. Renoir is weakened by the battle from the Paintress, so this buys them time where they can plan things out. Verso is worried that Maelle fighting with her father will just cause another fracture, and that she will become trapped within the monolith, or worse, that this cycle of grief needs to be fixed entirely by not bringing people back from the dead, but ending it all and dealing with the true trauma that exists within the real world. This whole world carries the burden of the Desandre family's grief, which was once created by Verso to originally play with his siblings, create life and more, but instead it's being used as his parents' battleground as they struggle to properly grieve over their loss and heal as a family. Verso then tells Monoko that he's going to do everything he can to win their trust back. Ciel and Lune break my heart hearing them realize there's another world out there that they'll never get to experience, realizing that their world isn't even real. It's also gut-wrenching knowing that what they've been through, how they were raised, Ciel losing the love of her life, trying to then commit suicide afterwards, but in the process, losing a baby that she had no idea she had. These people endured so much, way too much for them to not be considered real. This game has constantly put us through this from the very beginning and throughout. We're constantly pushed and emotionally connected to understand what each inhabitant is going through and how real it gets. We now have a badass montage of Maelle and the gang gathering up the needed chroma from dead expeditioners who died from Nevrons, and as they progress, they create an army revived from chroma expeditioners in the most badass shot in the game of them following behind them on the journey to defeat Renoir. We make our way back to Lumiere, which is under siege. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of sorrow. We're fighting our way through the intro of the game's area and more. We start from the docks, and as we progress further, the amazing new expeditioners we resurrected continuously jump in to help us or take out Nevrons in front of us in some of the most amazing clashes. Well, technically these aren't Nevrons, these are Curator Renoir's creations, and all of this is also done to fantastic music. As we progress all the way through Lumiere, we start to reach previously inaccessible locations further than where Gustave and Sophie reunite. We start to make our way over to Lumiere's Eiffel Tower, and the final battle approaches, making our way over to Renoir, who is overlooking the fractured Lumiere. Maelle tries once more to plead to Renoir to understand what this canvas means to her, to which Renoir admits he knows how addicting it feels, how obsessive it can be, which he did the same. He almost died from doing something similar when he was younger, which is why he thinks it needs to go, so that he could save his daughter in the real life. Lune and Ciel try to reason with Renoir, telling him that your children's lives' boundaries can't be set. They as parents can feel that way, but ultimately the children have to make their own decisions. Maelle says, as Alicia, Verso died because of her. In the real world, she feels nothing. She hates her life out there, a deformed, damaged girl who cannot speak. Renoir snaps and says enough is enough. Cues the battle music as the party preps for their final battle against Renoir in his painted form as the curator. As the battle rages on and some of the coolest parry encounters happen, Aline, the paintress, makes her way back in to help us, which Renoir is shocked. He says her return is way too soon. She could die from simply re-entering the canvas. She then takes out the Axons, who were then healing Renoir throughout that fight in a badass kaiju form, coming in to aid and side with her youngest daughter. A moment that I'm sure Alicia, Maelle, truly cherishes and did not expect. Now the new phase starts to kick in with Renoir's new weapon. Everything about this fight, man, from the music, the defense, everything is done so well. Renoir even has like a supernova style length attack. If you don't deal enough damage to him, he can clap your cheek with it. I love this move so much because I actually died to it twice, and then he actually trolls you with it. Because if you defeat Renoir finally on the second phase, he starts to queue up this attack animation, which triggers absolute fear, thinking, oh my god, I thought I beat him now. Now we have to parry this insane attack. But then Maelle, in slow motion, interrupts it unexpectedly and snipes him out of the air, telling him, not this time. It's so fucking amazing. I just wish though she was wearing the same outfit that my Maelle was wearing. Minor nitpick here in this cutscene, but I get it. It's probably rendered differently because I wasn't wearing that outfit. After we defeat Renoir, he reveals that Aline, the paintress, was the one who saved him when he was younger and he lost himself within a canvas. They created hundreds of different canvas worlds, and every day that they spend in one has a price. The Descendre family essentially creates life, they create worlds, and they dispose of them and rid them as they please, which is horrifying knowing what the people in their worlds have gone through. Renoir still doesn't budge in his stance against Alicia. 67 years he spent in this world trapped underneath the monolith. He then shows Maelle the perspective he has to see within the real world. He shows Aline going crazy over her paintress disease, essentially being a living corpse since the fire. It's ultimately ruined them. Alicia, he describes also like a ghost, and Clair obsessed and distant. Aline, emotionless and also obsessed with the canvas, and he just can't lose them all. He just wants his family to be whole again so that they could heal. Maelle tells him that's how she feels with the people in this canvas, that they are her family and she wants to protect them. She begs that she doesn't want to lose her father, she just wants a little more time with them and won't be lost. Renoir, finally at his limit, agrees, trusting her, and he even says he'll keep the light on for her. A touching nod to parents. This is what parents normally say, and that he hopes she finds peace. Hold on to each other, he says. During this embracement, Verso is actually inching his way over to another portal slowly, the same one that Renoir opened. He's been doing this entire interaction. As the party slowly realizes, Verso has another plan. He's lied yet again. He goes basically to the edge of creation, the source of the painting, where the soul of little Verso is embedded within the canvas and painting. Continuously painting. Yes guys, the fading boy this entire time that we keep encountering was Verso, the real young Verso. And if you go back to many conversations he's had with you throughout the game, as you find him throughout the world, a lot of these conversations make so much sense. Verso then asks if he's tired of painting, trying to get the soul to stop doing this. Maelle confronts him, saying, "You shouldn't be here." Verso tells her that she lied to her father, and he knew. She has no intentions of going home, and instead, she plans to die here within this world, which is extreme. I don't think that's necessarily the direction myself, but let's continue. Verso pleads to try to save her, which Maelle says in here, she's truly alive. Outside in the real world, she doesn't live. She's basically a dead person. Verso again tells Verso's soul it's time to stop painting, which Maelle aggressively interferes with and draws out her blade. Now a choice has to be made. Do we want to fight as Maelle and save the canvas, or do we want to fight as Verso and destroy the canvas? Let's go with Maelle's first. This battle with Verso is a scaled down battle, meaning they don't have the power of your characters and only do a series of very basic attacks. Maelle tells him to stop. He can't decide this for everyone, which Verso responds, "We're all hypocrites. We're just doing the same thing over and over again to each other." Maelle tries again to remind him about all of their friends, which Verso responds, "Ciel was right. Grief blinds us." Defeating Verso shows him begging for her to stop. Please stop the soul from painting. He starts sobbing, crying, begging for Maelle to unpaint him. He does not want this life. Benstar does a fantastic job here. His last words continuously breaking and repeating, help me, I don't want this life." Maelle just wants a life back with him in it, which was stolen from them. The screen then fades to black, and Maelle asks, "If you could grow old, would you find a reason to smile?" The story then moves forward. We are finally back in Lumiere, and everything is lively, everything is prospering. Lumiere is filled with people, tons of them lining up to the theater. We see them interacting with Monoko and Eskie. Maelle is wearing her civilian outfit. She arrives with another orphan, and we see Lune, Ciel, and Ciel's husband is alive. They all sit together up in the front row. She looks back, she's trying to find more people, and our boy Gustave is back, and so is Sophie. Maelle just embraces this. She looks around the room before her. She sees her entire family's joy and smile. Everyone is together again, reunited, and then the show starts. Verso appears on stage, looking noticeably older, walking towards the piano. It's extremely silent. He focuses on Maelle. It's clear that he's been repainted, but with the ability to actually grow old this time. Something still pains him though. We could tell from his eyes, the way that he locks in. We don't know if he retains the previous Verso's memories, or if Maelle didn't give him that. We did last see him begging to be unpainted and to just let him die. Maelle's last words were, "If you could grow old again, would you find a reason to smile?" We see him grow old, but he's definitely not smiling. He hesitates to play. He's looking around the room at everyone's face. Finally, he meets Maelle's face and it shows a creepy piano note playing. As we realize, she's suffering from the same sickness that her mother and father suffer from. Verso begins to play, and then the game ends. There was a moment earlier in the story where Maelle tells Verso she wants to see him play at a concert on stage, and she'll make sure the entire town of Lumiere come to see him. She seemingly made that a reality here. But guys, we're not done. We have to reload the save file, and we can finally replay Verso's ending. Now in Verso's ending, we have to fight Maelle, and it's the same deal. The fight isn't too crazy, the health pools are very small, and it's generally easy. After the fight is done, we see him expel Maelle from the canvas. It's painful as she begs him to not leave her again. He says what Alicia remembers as Verso's last words in the real world fire, that it's gonna be okay. You have this incredible power to paint, you're okay. His famous original last words, to which he's right. As much as it pains us, as much as it hurts us, she will be okay eventually. Her infatuation with the painting is understandable. Her life outside of this has been pain and misery. Her family belittles her constantly. Nobody seemingly likes her. She's not respected, and on top of all of that, it's her fault why her family is the way that they are now. She was manipulated by the writers, and in that consequence, Verso died. Her family is broken, and everybody seemingly is at odds with her. After erasing Maelle, Verso embraces Monoko and Eskie one final time as they fade away, his best friends, his creations, his very first ones. Next is Ciel, who utters no words, just pain, understanding but pain. All that she suffered, what was it for? She then gamages, fades away. And then there's Lune, who's staring absolute bullets into Verso, sitting down in anger, forcing him to watch her gamage. You did this. She trusted this man again for the third time now. He lied again, doing this. Her entire life was spent preparing for a fight that she didn't need to fight. And her whole family dynamic was based around this prep that she needed to do for this fight. Every waking moment obsessing over this. Verso finally then convinces his soul to stop painting. They walk away, and the canvas is officially destroyed. And now we're in the real world of Paris. The Eiffel Tower is in the distance, and the Descendre family has finally come together. They grieve at Verso's grave, which appears to be in a reserved courtyard behind their mansion, as billionaires tend to do. This gathering is something that they've not done before. Renoir, Aline, Clair, and Alicia all together in one. Clair genuinely looks happy in this moment for the first time we've seen her with the family. They can finally begin their first steps to becoming whole again. After everyone pays their respects and has their moments, Alicia then looks out and she sees her friends, her family, all waving one final time. Gustave, Maelle, Lune, Ciel, Verso, Monoko, and Esquier, they all fade away. And now the family can ultimately begin to heal. Alicia can start moving forward with her life, and maybe we could see what's going on now with the conflict between the painters and the writers. Now, between the two endings, it's obvious the good ending is the Verso ending. Both are incredibly sad, but this one is choosing reality, while the Maelle ending is choosing fantasy. But one thing that I've been struggling with in this amazing masterpiece of a game, this story continues to affect me every day, and I continuously change my stance. I totally see the positives in both endings. I've grown attached. I love the friends, I love the world of Lumiere. The game does such a painstakingly good job to show us the residents within the canvas are real people living, suffering, and breathing. From Ciel and her trauma, losing her husband, attempting to commit suicide from this trauma, but in the process, unknowingly ending the life of her unborn child, the last piece of her husband. Gustave and his situation with Sophie, him wanting to have a child and her not wanting to bring a life into this traumatic, brutal world. She's most likely brought up the option to adopt, which he was against initially, but eventually he did it. He adopted Maelle years after that when he and Sophie split. Their love, however, was never lost. This was made extensively apparent. Gustave starts off optimistic, and then he's filled with fear. He attempted suicide, which Lune saves him from when he thinks all is lost. Accused him of being a coward, and he powers through all of this, ultimately to sacrifice himself for Maelle, for those who come after. His entire character arc will forever stick with me in that way. Lune, whose entire life was created because her parents needed an extra person to help them in their studies and preparation, to continue their research. She was raised without a real childhood, just enforced into this lifestyle, and we see her suffering the side effects from her being raised by overbearing parents. Many times within this story, where she can't even focus on anything but the mission. After Gustave's death, we see her start to break down at the campfire and talking about leaving notes for the next expedition, not even trying to triumph in their own mission. And Ciel has to calm her down during this. In Lune's side mission, we actually find her parents' dead bodies and journal. Their last words were, "Lune will finish what we started." And Verso, knowing all of this, develops relationships with them, builds deep bonds, even fucks both Ciel and Lune, lies to them not once, twice, but 3 times. And then he admits to Maelle that he watched and let Gustave die. He could have saved him, but he let him die by Renoir. He's been watching them the whole time from the moment that they landed on the beach. He saved Maelle on the beach. If you go back and you look at that blurry footage, he then left Gustave and Lune the note to find Maelle. They even pan out and they show him when he's standing in the distance looking at them as they go into the mansion. He does all of this and lets Gustave die because he knows Gustave would have interfered with his plans and made things more difficult. Literally inserting himself into the party. His whole plan was to build them up, use them to sacrifice and take out the canvas and end his suffering, which again pains to know that they just needed to stop going on expeditions in order to live. Half of Lumiere was kind of already on their way figuring that out when they detailed that nobody cares about the expeditions anymore. The barrier in Lumiere and the paintress's chroma very well could have saved them. Renoir was never as strong as Aline. She's the head of the Painters Council. His chrome was not as powerful as hers, especially in this canvas, but they kept feeding the curator and Renoir and Clair over those 67 years. Verso also did say he can't sleep as it does hurt him or affects him quite differently, so I understand his reasoning, but man, I can't help but feel like he could have given them a few more years of peace. Finally, they achieved what was quickly taken from them. To reach an age that their whole life they never knew that they would reach. They've been preparing for themselves to die at the age of 33. At least let them turn 34. Make their triumph mean something. These people in the canvas don't deserve this. These painters, they boast about painting and creating hundreds of different worlds, disposing of them as they please, creating life and taking it away at will, giving out apologies on behalf of the family. We're gonna give you guys oblivion. Actual genocide? I'm sorry, I don't feel for the Desandra family. I understand them, but they're only relatable emotionally now after they've lost their son Verso. For all we know, they may have deserved whatever the writers were trying to do attacking them. We don't know what their true nature and background is, but we've seen alone in the way that they treat Alicia, they're not exactly nice people. Having that power and all that money, dude, get some fucking therapy. There's so many options. I feel like there shouldn't all just be negative ones in this game, but this game presents us with the only two negative outcomes because dark fantasy. Time spent in the canvas is obviously different from the real world. Aline and Renoir sat in front of that canvas for days, but for them it was 51 years. And then when Alicia went into the canvas, it became a total of 67 years. You're telling me that Alicia couldn't have 1 or 2 more real life days before she came back, guys? Or create a system to visit and come and go on certain days? The copied Verso makes the same decision that the real Verso did in real life, sacrificing himself all over again so that Alicia can still live somewhat of a life. Even though this family is together in this moment, if you look at it, Alicia is still alone. Clair walks away smirking from all of them, basically done with this bonding moment. Renoir and Aline both comfort and have each other and embrace after causing the whole entire situation in this game fighting in the canvas, and Alicia is just left alone again. Nobody looks at her, nobody comforts her or even embraces her except the friends and memories that she has to now forget about and move on. That shit crushes me, man. The original Verso, the original soul of Verso even believes that. He said this before, that the people within the painting are as real as the people living in the real world outside. The soul of Verso tells you this and many other things as you encounter him throughout the game. So the fake painted copy Verso just wants his end, his demise. And I feel like Maelle could have granted him that. But of course, he wasn't going to risk that because he knows how this thing plays out. He's been around for a very long time. He's over hundreds of years old. He doesn't have an allegiance to anyone. So unfortunately, that's how things played out. The Desandra family, Renoir, Clair, and Aline can absolutely fuck off. Clair goes into this world and look what she did to Simon. Dude is a bona fide simp wasting away in a pit of despair. I'm convinced that the writers may have a good reason for the decision. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm ranting right now, but it's just I'm so emotionally invested in this fucking game. This family, we're sympathizing with them now, but as the story gets revealed more in Clair Obscur 2 or future titles, I can see us playing from the writer's perspective and potentially seeing the Desandra family for what they really are. Rich people playing God, creating and disposing the lives without meaning, and maybe they've done something to really provoke the writers in the same way. So yes, Verso's ending is the good ending, but I just don't get how the painters can spend 67 years doing fuck off in paintings and saying we spent longer in other paintings, at the time equaling out to a few days IRL, and be mad that Maelle wants to spend maybe less than that time in there. Just keep it around to maybe visit every so often. You know, Maelle's ending ultimately hurts herself more. She's younger than Aline and Renoir, so maybe there's a factor that the painter's sickness is something that she could overcome eventually or not even deal with. It's more serious effects until later on. Listen to me. I'm crazy. Listen to what this story has done to me. I'm over here creating theories on fake illnesses and potentially ways around it. Alicia's family looks down on her as a blight, so ultimately it is their fault that this is happening. Even if she is the reason for being manipulated by the cause of the fire and Verso dying, it's incredible that they're still so cold to her in so many ways, brutally too. And while Aline, the paintress, has an opportunity to repaint or create her own family within the canvas, she does so, and when she does Alicia, she paints her as completely burnt and damaged with a broken voice, and has even said that she treats her as if she's the one that died and not Verso. Seriously, how can I resonate with this family? And guys, I'm so bothered because, and it affects me a lot because I do love this story. I love these characters and I love what Sandfall has been able to do with this. Verso is a fantastic character, man. Ben Starr really knocked it out of the park. This character is super tragic, super deep, multi-dimensional. I loved Ben's portrayal of all aspects of the character, from the humorous moments, the impactful emotional scenes, and even the low down, dirty, cold selfishness. I fully understand it, but it pains me so much, and that's how you know a character is really damn good. But there are some moments where there is a little bit of inconsistencies, like the Reacher side mission for the third axon. At the end, when Painted Alicia wants Maelle to get rid of her, and she does, Verso kind of snaps at Maelle and says she should have given him more time with her, more time to say goodbye. He just wanted a little bit more time, which, I don't know, it comes off as kind of hypocritical. He does say that they are all hypocrites after all, and this moment is meant to take place before the final boss, but he seemingly understands that entire emotion here. You know what would be the most insane twist out of all of this? Since Sandfall has clearly gone through so much to show us the family mistreating Alicia and how she seemingly never gets her way, and they clearly want to tell a dark fantasy story, what if for Clair Obscur 2 or any future release titles, they decide to go with the Maelle ending as the true canon ending, not allowing the family to heal and further letting her dive into the madness and ultimately destroying herself in the process? I feel like the Verso ending is a little too obvious for it being a good ending, because the future is at least hopeful. Things can continue to improve from there. We don't know exactly what direction that'll be going in, but Sandfall is clearly not trying to make happy endings or obvious endings here, with tons of twists throughout the story. So the Maelle ending being canon would be kind of insane and fit right at home with their future. I feel like there's so much I could talk about in that aspect. Guys, there is so much to talk about when it comes to this game's story, but we haven't even scratched the surface of the lore yet. The side missions bring us absolutely more. The side content is deep, rich with it. If you go back through the game, there's so many more pieces of information that's, you know, you don't really get until you replay it after you see it from a different lens. There's a lot to talk about in this game. I'm gonna have to make that into a series. This is the main recap and breakdown episode 1, so expect many more to come. We're also going to be doing live streams where we collaborate with other creators too and start to formulate a theory haven for this to discuss the game even further. Please join our Discord down below and check out our Clair Obscur spoiler discussion thread. We would love to hear you guys' thoughts on all of this. There's also one more thing I do want to talk about that's pretty cool. This game has always had an obsession with the fire element. Like it's the most powerful element in the game by far. Even water enemies can get destroyed by fire. And I constantly kept wondering, when are we going to have stuff like poison or freeze burn or something different in some way to tick away at enemies? But it was always fire. And so many moves thrive off of fire. It's symbolic in a lot of ways that if you continue to get more powerful off of it. Tragedy began from fire burning their home and killing Verso. Alicia disfigured from fire, but it's the biggest element within the gameplay that we constantly use, using their greatest pain to become the greatest power in gameplay, at least. It's kind of amazing connecting those dots. I'm sure there's a lot of things deeper within there, but I really want to hear what you guys think, because man, this game's story is something that we're going to be talking about for quite some time. It's going to stick with me, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. If this video maybe gave you a different perspective, or if you maybe you have a different outlook on this stuff, I want to know. Let's get a discussion going. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new. More Clair Obscur Expedition 33 videos are on the way, and you don't want to miss them. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.